Welcome to the Glenn Beck program. Today, it's a little bit different of a show. We are gathered. Glenn and Pat are here, but they are not available at the moment to speak. They are going to be speaking at the funeral for Hugo Chavez. Hugo Chavez, obviously a great man and a great leader. We'll be hearing from Glenn and Pat in their eulogy, as they were so close to Mr. Chavez that they were both requested speakers. First, before we can go on, I think it's time. You can hear them whimpering, I think, in the background, if the microphones are picking that up. We can't go forward, I don't think, without taking a quick look back at the life and the amazing reputation of Hugo Chavez with this retrospective.
The Glenn Beck program presents Retrospective. Today, Hugo Rafael Chavez Frias, best known as the personal librarian to the President of the United States. Hugo Chavez, dead at 58. Chavez was famous for crushing his enemies, the hopes of his people, and anything he sat on. His billowing voice and political will could only be matched by the fact that he was really, really, really fat. Venezuela's inflation and unemployment rate skyrocketed under his rule, as did Chavez's cholesterol. Towards the end, he only wore a giant Venezuelan flag with a hole for his head. Chavez ran a country in which 92% of murders go unsolved, and ate a diet in which 92% of the food was fried. Eventually, Chavez succumbed to cancer, sadly cutting his life short by a week and a half, when he would have died by coronary failure anyway. Hugo Chavez, fat, dead, could. This has been Retrospective.
That was
on the Glenn Beck program.
It was beautiful.
It really was beautiful.
We're in the church.
A look back. Glenn and Pat are still preparing to come up to the podium and speak. We take a.
Pat, I don't think I can do it. Pat, we lost.
Here comes Pat Gray is now approaching. This is Pat Gray speaking at the funeral of Hugo Chavez.
It is fitting that after making the Venezuelan healthcare system the envy of the entire planet, Hugo Chavez refused to utilize it, leaving more space available for the people he loved. And he left a lot of space. The specialist kidney unit in suburban Caracas has been completely empty for nearly a year. No one is there. Not a single patient. Doctors have been turning patients away ever since the hospital's water treatment plant broke down months ago. Fortunately,
We lost him.
Hugo, whom we just lost, made sure that no one with kidney failure would ever have to put up with a hospital that once had less than stellar water treatment. So committed to his nation's poor having access to what we all know was the finest medical treatment on earth, Hugo, after being diagnosed with pelvic cancer, left his country repeatedly for the slightly less top-notch, yet still amazingly stellar medicine of Fidel Castro's Cuba. Yet, because of his commitment to global warming, he refused to fly to Cuba one more time for treatment. If he'd just gotten one more treatment from Cuba, he'd still be alive today. And so would the hopes of millions in Venezuela and around the nation and world.
Glenn, that was Pat Gray speaking at the funeral of Hugo Chavez here in Caracas, Venezuela. Glenn Beck is approaching. We are still looking back at the history and life of Hugo Chavez. He, of course, ran a country in which homicide rates tripled, but arrests somehow fell by 61%.
Venezuela, no, the world has lost a great leader, lost a great dictator,
and fabulous strongman. Hugo Chavez's 14-year reign of wonderful socialism and heavy-handed oppression came to an end earlier this week. When Hugo came to power, only 77% of Venezuela's economy was based on oil. Today, it's up to a robust 96% of the economy. In just 14 short years, Hugo Chavez was able to rid Venezuela of nearly every industry other than state-run oil. This, as we all know, allowed people more free time to relax.
No.
Hugo seized control over the military, the judiciary, the Congress, the banking system, the aluminum industry, cement, gold, iron, steel, farming, transportation, electricity, and food production.
All right.
Also, the Electoral Council and the media. That way, those who used to work in those industries would no longer have to worry at night about those responsibilities. Hugo was
So kind.
He was also able to free Venezuela from the plague of private investment, which dropped 43%. It is. Some people call him a strong man, dictator. To reflect the changes he was making in the economy, Hugo renamed the currency and changed it from the Bolivar to the Bolivar Fuerte, meaning the strong Bolivar. With the strength that Chavez provided the Venezuelan economy, their currency only dropped 66% in value. And inflation is a mere 23% right now. But friends gathered here today,
So good.
think about this. Had Hugo not renamed the currency, can you imagine how far its value could have dropped if he wouldn't have told everybody that it was a strong
Oh my gosh, yes.
Bolivar? Imagine, like our beloved President Chavez inherited a whopping $34 billion in debt. And he faced some headwinds, but he turned that $34 billion in debt into $150 billion in debt. Which again sounds like our president can do a little better. Chavez's policies have allowed the poor to get more in touch with their families by getting away from all of their electrical devices. And he's accomplished this by bringing power outages and rolling blackouts to all the cities and all of the hinterlands in Venezuela. Through uncontrolled spending, appropriations, price controls, monetary expansion, and other beautiful tenets of socialism, Hugo helped his people do more with less.
That's what he did.
Sure, there have been shortages of basic goods and water rationing and blackouts, and despite nearly $1 trillion in oil revenue, the nation is on verge of collapse, which will bring the opportunity for the Venezuelan people to be even closer. More togetherness for the people that he loves so dearly. Through his corruption and ineptitude, Hugo was able to oversee a massive increase in the murder rate from 25 per 100,000 when he took office to 45.1 per 100,000 in 2011. He nearly doubled the murder rate, thus helping Venezuelans get in touch with just how precious life really is. Now, they don't take a single minute, a single stroll in the park, sending their kids off to school for granted.
Nothing for granted. Nothing.
It might be the last stroll they ever
the
take.
last breath they ever take.
While the rate of serious poverty in the country didn't go down as much as it did in some of surrounding Latin American countries that practice capitalism, Chavez lowered his rate through redistribution of wealth, taking from the evil rich, confiscating their land and possessions and giving it to others. He stopped all the irritating debates about his policies by seizing control or simply shutting down the media. That's allowed his people just to relax, slow down, and enjoy some of that salsa, some of that spicy music.
It's so good.
It is.
So good.
Finally, Hugo Chavez was able to warn his people about the threat. The threat that not only they face, but every citizen of every country in all of mankind. He was able to warn his people about the threat from Jews, letting Venezuelans know about the Jewish influence over the banks. It allowed him to take possession of those banks. During his election campaign against an opposition candidate, he warned his people, don't let yourself be poisoned by those wandering Jews.
Good safety tip. Good safety
Good
tip.
advice, Hugo. Thanks. Speaking of elections, Hugo took the suspense out of him by rigging the results in his favor. That way his people never had to worry about losing him until today. Sadly, now all of us who love Hugo Chavez, now we've lost him. Why? Death was just one thing Hugo couldn't rig, couldn't repossess, couldn't redistribute.
Right.
They've lost their beloved Hugo. And so have we.
That was Glenn Beck, speaking live at the funeral of beloved leader Hugo Chavez.
I don't think I could go on.
We look back at his life today, and we realize that some of the things he said.
Look at him there.
Are you guys okay?
Coffin. Look at him. For his
Oh gosh.
He's
So
just,
peaceful.
Oh no.
he looks
So lifelike.
He's so
So
Look
fat.
at him there. He's just wearing the Venezuelan flag with the hole cut in it for his head like he always did.
Beautiful.
Socialist moo is being worn currently by Hugo.
His last words, he was so brave.
He was brave.
So
He was
brave.
so brave.
So brave.
His last words were, please don't let me die.
So courageous.
Oh my gosh, all the way to the end. He was so brave.
And just a minimum of screaming.
Oh, that was so hard to get past. Minimum of screening. That's so beautiful.
We look back at Hugo Chavez's
He
life.
doesn't need those shoes. Does he? I mean, he doesn't need shoes where he's going.
You're hearing the whimpering of Glenn Beck and Pat
They
Gray.
look like nice shoes. We should take him, bro.
Oh, that's Gucci or
He only has so much of the people's money in his bank accounts. How did he afford
not
the
that
shoes?
much. No.
No.
He only kept like 89% for himself.
There's millions in the bank. How did he afford the Gucci shoes?
You're listening to the unedited whimpering of Pat Gray and Glenn Beck as they discuss the death of Hugo Chavez,
Tragedy, it's tragedy,
beloved leader,
Stu, it's tragedy.
beloved anti-Semite.
What will Hollywood do? This is
Poor
hard.
Danny Glover.
As hard as we're taking it, imagine how hard it is for Sean Penn and Danny Glover.
Danny, give us a call. Please call us.
Well, actually, they're two
Need a
rows behind.
hug.
They're 2 rows behind you.
Need a hug.
They're only 2
We're
rows
hugging.
behind you.
Oh,
Let's do it right now. Let's do it right now.
hey, Danny.
Danny hugging out with me, brother.
Right now, Glenn Beck is hugging Danny Glover, and Pat Gray is in a deep embrace with Sean Penn as they mourn the tragic passing of Hugo Chavez from most likely cancer and the heart attack thing because he was so fat. Both things at the same time, probably. We don't know for sure. Hugo Chavez is best known for his words, such as Christopher Columbus was the spearhead of the biggest invasion and genocide ever seen in the history of humanity.
Beautiful words. Beautiful.
He also told the truth about capitalism, saying it was the way of the devil and exploitation. If you really want to look at things through the eyes of Jesus Christ, who I think was the world's first socialist.
How true that is.
Goes.
Only socialism can really create a genuine society.
True.
And how genuine was his?
It
How
really,
genuine.
Hugo Chavez.
Genuinely crappy. It's on the verge of collapse.
But only on the verge.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't for him.
It hasn't collapsed, has it?
Not yet. Not yet.
What are you, one of these fox bastards?
I think Hugo put it very well when he said the world has enough for everybody.
Yeah.
But some minorities, the descendants of the same people that crucified Christ, have taken control of the riches of the world.
The Romans?
Well, I don't think that's what he meant. No, I don't think he meant the Romans.
Jews?
I'm pretty sure he meant the
Jew
Jews.
warning?
Yeah, pretty sure he meant the Jews.
Enough Jew warning from my dictators. That's what I look for. That's the first thing I look for. Can they deliver a good Jew warning?
Obviously, so is Danny Glover and Sean Penn. They're looking for that too.
And finally, we look back at his health advice on this sad day, where he was talking about the benefits of natural health.
No
and he
one
said,
healthier than Hugo.
Right. And
we could see that.
And he said-
he lived to the ripe age of 58.
he said, I chew coca leaves every morning, and look at me.
And look at him.
Look at him.
Dead.
Dead in a
At
box.
58.
But he looks
58.
so lifelike and happy.
And fat.
Really fat.
Very fat. A country where people are starving. How did he get so fat?
Spilling out of the casket. With several rolls.
For everybody in Hollywood, we want you to know that we're hugging you right now. We are not mocking your pain at all.
It's a hug.
It's
A hug.
Here's our sponsor this half hour. It's Liberty Safe. They have said that they are going to leave Hugo's body laying in state for a while. Now, a lot of people would say that you would, you might start to, I don't know, mold around the edges. No, it's surprising. It's surprising. Yes, it's surprising what'll happen if people urinate on you every day. It's like a disinfectant. It keeps the mold at bay. But maybe they could put them in a Liberty Safe. I don't know if they have a Hugo-sized safe. Is that? Do you think that one over there? You think the one we have in the studio would fit Hugo?
No, that's not big enough. That's not big enough.
We could put a hole at the top of it for his head.
Liberty Safe.